I think for a long time, Christian niceness has kind of ruled as the appropriate response for Christians, which is turn the other cheek, which of course Christ asks us to do. However, that often, I think, embodied itself in a certain tolerance. We haven't had men, for example, standing up for their daughters against trans-identified individuals participating in their girls' sports teams. Everybody just kind of goes along to get along. And that is this tolerance that has been manipulated into some sort of civic virtue, and I think kind of collapsed into forgiveness in some way. But I think we need to make the distinction that we can forgive, but also we must not tolerate sin, either in our own lives or in our civic life. The more sin affects our community life, the more structures of sin develop and are allowed to flourish, just like the Catechism says. You know, Catechism talks about not just personal sin, but the structures of sin, because when so many of the people are sinning, it creates actual sinful structures in our society. And when we're not willing to stand up against evil, then that's what's allowed to happen. So we need to forgive, absolutely. Like Tyler Robinson, I hope Erica can publicly forgive him, because that would be an amazing testament to Christian virtue and forgiveness. I really pray that she is able to do that, although that would be obviously so tremendously hard. But, you know, forgiveness does not mean that we forget, and it doesn't mean that we tolerate evil either. In fact, we must make sure that we turn around this toleration of evil and start calling it out and start tearing out those structures of sin in our culture that have taken root. If there is anarchy in our society, there is no liberty. There must be guidelines or goalposts or something that keeps people within a certain acceptable range of behaviors. Celebrating the death of an innocent man, I don't think should be, you know, part of that civic behavior. And I think I liken it to my children, right? Like when our children may have done something wrong or done something that is, or acting in a way that is not consistent with how we require them to act, they'll be removed to their rooms, and we tell them, you may return when you can act in a way that is, you know, acceptable for civil society in this house, basically, because we don't tolerate bad behavior in our house, and the children have to learn how to act accordingly, you know. And so society needs to do some policing of its own. And for a long time that happened. For a long time, both the right and the left policed its more extreme elements by making clear that some things were clearly outside the realm of acceptable behavior. But unfortunately, particularly on the left, that has eroded in the past 10 years. They're not policing the most extreme elements anymore, and that has allowed what Rutgers University called an assassination culture to take hold. There was a Rutgers University report in fall of 2024 that was put out talking about assassination culture, and actually Charlie Kirk had tweeted about this at the time, that 40% of respondents on the left said that it was okay to assassinate someone who disagrees with you. And that's an astoundingly high number. On the right, it was 12%, which is also 12% higher than it should be. So there's definitely an element of force that's coming back into our culture, I think because our culture is post-Christian in many ways. And so I hope that the example of Charlie and what he stood for, and in some ways what he died for, can help with a resurgence of Christian culture to put down these more extreme elements and bring people back to the virtues, back to Jesus.